The first time it happened, the smoke from the grill curled into the bright afternoon air, like a confession that had waited too long to be spoken, and my heart thudded so hard I thought it might be louder than the sizzle of meat. I had stepped into the backyard with nothing but a paper plate and a habit of keeping my eyes down, and there it was, the moment that would quietly rearrange my life. My neighbor's smile, warm and unguarded, landing on me as if it had always known where to find me. The words that followed were gentle but dangerous, playful but sincere, and they cut through the daylight with a truth I wasn't prepared to face. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet moments that change everything, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that are still healing. I had moved into that small rental on Alder Lane at the start of spring, the kind of place with uneven steps, a stubborn mailbox, and a backyard that pretended to be bigger than it was. Daytime felt safer there. Sunlight filled the rooms and softened the edges of my thoughts. Nights, on the other hand, were heavy. I was 38 and freshly divorced, though fresh didn't feel accurate because the grief had already settled deep into my bones. The paperwork had been signed months earlier, but my body still moved as if I were carrying a weight that refused to be put down. I kept my life tidy and quiet. I worked remotely. I waved politely at neighbors. I avoided anything that might ask me to feel more than I could manage. That Saturday was supposed to be simple, a community cookout, bright skies, folding tables, laughter drifting from yard to yard. I went because I told myself it was healthy, because isolation had begun to feel like a second skin I didn't want anymore. I told myself I would stay for 20 minutes and leave. I didn't expect the man next door to be standing at the grill, sunlight catching in his dark hair, sleeves rolled up like he belonged in that scene. His name was Rowan Mercer, a name I had only seen on a misdelivered package once. He had moved in a year before me, people said, after losing his wife to an illness that moved faster than anyone expected. I noticed everything at once. The careful way he turned the food, the way he listened more than he spoke, the way his smile seemed practiced but honest. When our eyes met, it wasn't electric. It was steady, familiar in a way that startled me. He smiled, and in that smile was an unspoken recognition, as if he saw the careful way I held myself together and chose not to ask questions. The moment stretched, and then those words came, soft enough to be almost private, layered with hope and hesitation. I laughed it off because that was easier than answering, easier than admitting that I was not married, but also not free. The afternoon rolled on, sunlight moving across lawns, children chasing each other with sticky fingers, the scent of food clinging to the air. I tried to be normal. I tried to be present, but something had shifted. I found myself aware of Rowan without trying, noticing when he refilled drinks, when he checked on the older couple at the end of the table, when he stepped back to let others shine. There was kindness in him that didn't perform. It just existed. And that was the most dangerous thing of all. In the weeks that followed, our lives brushed against each other in small, ordinary ways that felt anything but ordinary to me. Daytime encounters became a pattern. We crossed paths while taking out the trash, while watering plants, while collecting mail under the bright, forgiving sun. We talked about practical things at first: weather, yard repairs, the best time to mow without annoying everyone else. Slowly, without ceremony, those conversations grew longer. I learned that Rowan fixed old radios as a hobby, that he cooked to feel. Close to his mother, who had taught him everything, that grief had taught him patience. He learned that I wrote training manuals for a tech company, that I loved early morning walks, that my favorite color had changed after my divorce because some shades felt too loud. The challenge wasn't attraction. That was obvious. The challenge was fear. My marriage hadn't ended in a dramatic explosion. It had faded quietly, painfully, through neglect and misunderstandings that hardened into distance. I had promised myself I wouldn't repeat that story. I had promised myself I wouldn't need anyone. Yet here I was, feeling seen by a neighbor who asked nothing of me except honesty. Daytime made it harder to hide. The sun showed everything. It showed the softness returning to my face when I laughed. It showed the way I lingered longer than necessary at the fence line. One afternoon the power went out on the block, and the day slowed down in a way that felt almost intentional. Without screens or distractions, people drifted outside. Rowan and I ended up sitting on the low wall between our yards, talking about loss in careful, respectful terms. There were no dramatic confessions, just an understanding that grief didn't have a timeline and love didn't erase pain, it learned to live alongside it. I admitted in my own guarded way that I was afraid of choosing wrong again. He admitted that he worried about betraying the memory of someone he had loved deeply. The sun moved across the sky as we talked, shadows lengthening, the air warm and steady. It felt like a bridge being built plank by plank. Still, I hesitated. I pulled back when things felt too close. I cancelled a walk we had planned. I told myself I needed more time. The old patterns whispered that safety lived in distance, but kindness has a way of waiting you out. Rowan never pressured. He stayed consistent. He showed up in ways that mattered, returning a borrowed ladder, leaving a note when a package arrived, checking in when I had a rough workday written all over my posture. Each small act chipped away at the wall I had built. The turning point came on a bright Sunday afternoon when the neighborhood gathered again, this time for a charity food drive. The grill was there, the same one, smoke rising into a sky so blue it felt like a promise. I watched Rowan move through the crowd with quiet purpose, and something inside me finally settled. I realized I wasn't being asked to forget my past or ignore my fear. I was being invited to bring all of it with me and still step forward. That realization was both terrifying and freeing. As the event wound down, I stood by the grill, the heat warming my hands, the day humming with gentle noise. Rowan joined me, and we shared a look that held weeks of unspoken understanding. I didn't need to answer the question he had asked that first day with words anymore. My presence was the answer. My choice to stay, to try, to risk being known was the answer. In that moment, I felt something loosen in my chest, a knot I hadn't realized I was still carrying. Change didn't happen all at once. It rarely does. But it began. We started walking together in the mornings, sunlight filtering through trees, conversations flowing more easily. We cooked meals side by side in open kitchens, with windows thrown wide, daylight turning ordinary moments into memories. I found myself trusting again, not blindly, but bravely. I learned that love could be gentle and still be strong, that second chances didn't erase the first story, but added a new chapter worth reading. If this story is touching something tender in you, if it's reminding you of your own quiet hopes or the courage it takes to open your heart again, please take a moment near the end of this video to like it, share it, and let us know you're here. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive. Just before we close, we have a special request for you. Please comment one word that describes how this story made you feel. 1. Word is enough to connect hearts across the world. On a clear afternoon months later, I stood in my backyard, the grill warm, the sun high, laughter drifting easily between yards. I wasn't healed in a dramatic way. I was healing in a real one. Rowan caught my eye and smiled, and this time there was no fear in me, only gratitude. Some moments don't arrive with thunder. They arrive with smoke in the air, a neighbor's kindness, and the simple bravery of choosing to stay.